take and stop not until the goal is reached, which is so relevant to Rotary even today. And so there is also a saying that there is no coincidence in this world except everything is preordained. And I consider this meeting with our Rotary International President nominee, Jennifer Jones, as a preordained meeting on this very important day for India. So, so with that, I hand the mic back to the President.
Thank you, MC Gopi. May I now request Sandhya to play our Rotary anthem?
Yes, coming up, President, the anthem of the Rotary Club of Madras.
There comes a time when we make a certain call, when Rotary will come together as one. The world is suffering so bad, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. Respect, collaborate, and motivate day by day, so that RCM will soon make a change. Oh, we are all a part of the RCM family, building healthy livelihoods for all in need. We are the Rotary, we are the RCM, we are the ones who make a better day, so let's start giving. Fighting polio and throwing COVID out. It's time we make a better day, Rotary and me. We are the Rotary. We are the RCM. We are the ones to make a better day. So let's start giving. Fighting polio and throwing COVID out. It's time we make a better day. Just Rotary and me. Come on, sing with me. We are the Rotary. We are the RCM. We are the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start giving. Start giving. Fighting polio. Fighting polio. And throwing COVID out. It's time we make a better day. Rotary and me.
Thank you very much. May we have a confirmation of the minutes of the 26th meeting held on 5th January, please? Thank you all. Rajesh, would you mind playing us the four-way test video, please, now?
Good evening, friends. Let me first say a big thank you for having asked me to speak to you all about the four-way test on such an important occasion, especially since I'm a totally greenhorn Rotarian, having just joined a month back. But having said that, I was all of 21 years when my husband, your very popular PDG RK, joined the club, and Rotary has been a part of my life since then. I have loved this very iconic, inspirational code of conduct, which is the soul of Rotary's ethics and the basis of every Rotarian's actions, whether it's corporate or civic or personal. You know what I like best about the four-way test? They're not in the form of commandments. They don't say do this, do that. They're more like questions for which you search for answers within yourself. And there's a beauty in the overall design too. The first test, the first word, truth, Is it the truth? Is the first principle of the universe, Satya or reality? A very ethical concept that not only expects us to speak the truth, but a truth that's free of all distortions of reality. The second test, is it fair to all concerned? Is a plea for impartiality and at a stronger level, a plea against exploitation of anyone by the powerful. Success, money, power, they're all important, but if we gain it at the expense of others, we are cutting at the very root of our ethical existence. The third test, will it bring goodwill and better friendships? Today, in this world of computers and internets, where most of our social contact is limited to facing the screen, I think Rotary stands as a beacon of friendship. When we get together for community service, for fellowship, a certain commonality of interest is created, which forms the basis of trust and friendships. Let us not even try to minimize the importance of this. The fourth and the last test, will it be beneficial to all concerned, is what we have always said. Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. This is not about personal material successes, but it's something that is very important to us as a human being. It is a question we all need to ask ourselves. Are we leaving the world a slightly better place than what it was when we entered it? This is a raison d'etre, the very ikigai of our existence. Thank you.
Thank you for that lovely message, Rotarian Kamala. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you who are with us this evening in your different time zones. Jennifer, it's with immense pleasure that I welcome you as RI's first Lady President nominee. We deeply appreciate your agreeing to address the Rotary Club of Madras and all our guests here today. We also have the distinct pleasure and honor to welcome so many Rotary dignitaries in our Rotary world. Rotarians, inner wheel dignitaries, and members. Rotaractors who've joined us. I would like to also recognize our guest of Rotarian Mahmoud Jamal, his son, Mr. Salim Jamal, and all the other friends who are with us this evening. Many of you may have participated in our meetings this year and may be aware of our projects and activities. However, for Jennifer's information, I will have to put you through it again. The Rotary Club of Madras is the third oldest club in India, having been inaugurated in 1929 and is in its 92nd year. We are the oldest club in South India and currently have 256 members. We are one of the 34 Rotary clubs worldwide founded by the late Rotarian James Wheeler Davidson of Canada, and are presently working with the Rotary Club of Bombay to bring this fraternity of clubs, JWD clubs, together. The first RI director, Rotarian Sir F.E. James, was from India in 1933-34 and was from our club. We have produced 18 district governors thus far, with 4 past district governors who still remain very active. We have sponsored 21 Rotary clubs directly, with 26 Interact clubs and 10 Rotaract clubs under our fold. Our association with Canada goes back close to 40 years or so. The Rotary Club of Madras pioneered the beginning of the red measles eradication in 1979 with the Rotary Club of Whitby in Rotary International District 7070, Canada. The resounding success of this program paved the way for us to begin the polio eradication program as well in India in 1985, much before it was launched as an all-India program in May of 1987, also in our city then called Madras. Here, I must say it was the late past district governor, Rotarian Ken Hobbs from Whitby, Canada, and his wife Eva, who will forever be etched in our memory for their association with RCM. We have always responded to natural calamities like the tsunami that struck our coast in 2004 and the Chennai floods in 2015. We had successfully completed the tsunami rehabilitation project of about 1.5 million US dollars in 2004 and have recently completed the construction of a state-of-the-art school building, also costing about $1 million, which over 50,000 flood-affected families were relocated to that location. Over the last 5 years, we have constructed approximately 1,500 toilets in rural areas and have also conducted behavioral change sessions to create an awareness to ensure open defecation-free villages. To commemorate a polio-free India, we launched the Rotary End Polio Flame in December 2014, which crossed over 35 countries before it was ceremoniously received at the RI Convention in Sao Paulo, as well as the RI headquarters in Evanston, where I guess you were present as well. Our oldest ongoing project, which started in the year 1944, still operates under the name of Rotary Nagar in Chennai. We have here adopted an urban slum and provided the children of different age groups education, along with computer training and tailoring for women. We have run a boys' home at our 35-acre Gumadipundi campus, which is outside of Chennai, since 1985. Here, we have between 120 to 200 boys between the age groups of 11 and 16 and provide them free boarding, lodging, schooling, clothing, and take care of their medical needs as well for 5 years. At our Selur campus, which is another suburb in Chennai, we have partnered with the Vinayaka Mission Academy and the Worth Trust. Here, Worth Trust employs about 20 differently able people who transcribe books digitally and into Braille for the visually impaired, as well as convert English and Tamil books into digital formats for bookshare.org, which is apparently one of the world's largest online digital platforms. The Vinayaka Mission is involved in skilling and training programs, which include healthcare courses and hospital front desk coordinator roles for an average duration of 4 to 6 months. The courses also include pharmacy assistant, patient care assistant, critical care, maternal and newborn care, and such. We have digital literacy and tailoring embroidery classes as well, which are conducted by the Rotary Club of Madras under the Skilling Initiative every year, where we look after about 250 women. All these courses are free and are provided for the economically weaker sections of society. The Rotary Club of Madras has developed 7 lakes around Chennai that have been restored, having a total area of approximately 599 acres, with about 7 million people who are being benefited by all that water that's getting stored and recharge of groundwater. We are currently in the process of setting up a technical training center at the Gumadipundi location at a cost of approximately $500,000 US to train the differently abled. Our COVID initiative this year has been to provide testing for industrial workers for COVID-19. Going forward, RCM will endeavor to participate with the vaccination process as it gets rolled out in our state, being Tamil Nadu. Our club has contributed to the TRF in excess of over $2 million over the years, with 1 AKS member and over 40 major donors. We have also received matching grants and global grants, including 2 3H grants, one of approximately $680,000 US for setting up of a children's hospital, and another $500,000 for setting up a rehab center for polio-afflicted people. I think this pretty much covers all the projects that we at RCM do. I would now like to request the Secretary, P.B. Prasad, for his announcements.
Thank you very much, President. And once again, on behalf of Rotary Club of Madras, I welcome RIP and Jennifer and all the members who have joined us from around the world. Well, our next weekly meeting will be on Tuesday, 19th January at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. Mr. Rangaswamy, a well-known investor, entrepreneur, corporate eco-strategy expert, community builder, and philanthropist based in Silicon Valley, will speak to us on Indian Americans and the future of US-India relation. Thank you very much, President.
Thank you, Secretary Prasad. I would now request the President to come back again and make two very important announcements in honor of our visiting keynote speaker.
Thank you, Gopi. Jennifer, to commemorate your visit today, we request you to virtually inaugurate and hand over 2 dialysis machines to the ACS RCM Dialysis Center that we are associated with. These have been donated by our members, Rotarian Bharat Pujara of the ML Pujara Foundation and Rotarian Anand Rangasamy, whose wrath I will have to bear as he wished to remain anonymous. I would request you to now do the honors, please. Thank you. Additionally, we felt it would be fitting to be environmentally representative by planting of 117 fruit trees at our Gumadipundi campus again, to align with the 117th year, which is when you will be taking office as mantle of the US, of the President of Rotary International. May I have that video played, please? Thank you so much. I do hope that by the time you visit Chennai, this orchard will be something that you would enjoy looking at. I would now hand over the proceedings to MC Gopi. Gopi?
Gopi, are you there?
He's on.
May I request past President Gopal Ratnam to please introduce our speaker for this evening.
Indira Gandhi, Soon Ching Ling, Golda Meir, Srimao Bandaranaike, Margaret Thatcher, Benazir Bhutto, Avril Feda Douglas Kim Gamble, and ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Jones. The most colorful selected flowers in the bouquet of those breaking the glass ceiling. An invisible but a non-penetrable barrier called Iron Ladies and ruled their respective countries. But Jennifer is a global leader of 1.2 million Rotarians from 36,000 odd clubs of 220 countries and geographical area. I'm leaving out the Rotaractors and Interactors. It will be taking time. Circa 1997, a 27-year-old with twinkling eyes and a naughty smile, the same we see today also, owning a television company, was asked by a general manager of a cable company to attend a Rotary meeting. I quote, "I have covered Rotary as a young reporter when it was still an old men's club. So I was not really sure as to what to expect, but still went. Lo and behold, when I arrived, I felt like arrived home." Unquote. Rest, as they say, is history. Joined Rotary movement as member of Rotary Club of Windsor, Roseland, Ontario, Canada, District 6400. Interesting parts start now. Year 2001, July 1st saw Jennifer made the president of the club into just a normal, routine, mundane affair for the next 73 days. Come September, nice autumn setting in with warm days and balmy nights, with the maple trees at its best before shedding off the leaves, and 11th of September 2001 shook not only the US of A, but the entire globe. It was a Tuesday at 12:15 p.m. at Fogoler Furlong, Windsor, Ontario. A 772 miles as the crow flies. From the site of Twin Towers, a gravel grows down and a shrill voice sounds. Rotary Club of Windsor, Roseland is called to order. And the worried, disturbed community gets its help under Rotarian President Jennifer Jones. The club, the district, the community, and the Rotary world saw its future leader, a decision maker during difficult and chaotic time. As a president, another remarkable initiative was weekly Rotarian appreciation event. We do also introduce us Rotarians to introduce themselves, but what Jennifer was doing was Rotaries to come forward to talk about themselves, for all the members to know all the members' positives, negatives, adequacies, and inadequacies. And every member was given a booklet at the end of the year. Jennifer bringing the human side of the movement. Jennifer Jones as Governor, Rotary District 6400, 2007-8. Jennifer has demonstrated a special interest in developing peace throughout her Rotary career. She initiated, developed, and hosted the first peace conference for Rotary International President Wilkinson, fifth Canadian to take over the place, and Jennifer is going to be the sixth one. It was a spectacular success, bringing Rotarians and other leaders from around the world to the town of Windsor to build greater understanding of the Rotary movement, Rotary Foundation, and foster peace. In the same peace conference, she included focus on environment as a peace building activity. Jennifer Jones as Director of Rotary International 2015-17. Jennifer's leadership capabilities have been well recognized at every level of Rotary. In her first year as director, the then RA President Ravi Ravindran recognized this and appointed her to chair the Executive Committee of the Board of Rotary International for the year 2015-16. The very next year, the second year of her term as director, RA President John Germ appointed as Vice President of Rotary International. Here I would like to recognize and thank PDG Bob Gallagher and past President Mary Jean and President Mara Riccardi of Rotary Club of Windsor, Roseland, Ontario, Canada, for all the information that I could gather about RIPN Jennifer Jones. Otherwise, I should have just read whatever the material that was sent by Rotary International, a few lines of statistics. Well, that is meant for those who believe in numbers. She went on to become a trustee of the Rotary Foundation in 2019-20 and has also acted as co-chair of the Young Polio Now Make History Today campaign and has helped to raise hundreds of millions of dollars to eradicate polio and support the foundation. Jones recently led the successful Rotary Response Telethon, which raised critical funds for COVID-19 relief and was viewed by more than 65,000. Jennifer is one of Rotary International's most recognized communicators. She has presented keynote addresses and training workshops at more than 100 conferences across North America, St. Petersburg, Russia, Panama City, Bangkok, Lisbon, Finland, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, Australia, Germany, and of course India. India, she was here on 6th December 2019 at Indore. Jones has also received Rotary International Service Above Self Award, the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service, Champion of Rotary, Jennifer and Rotarian Dr. Kresic. Is the pronunciation right? Her husband are members of the Artsy Club Society, Paul Harris Society, and are chartered members of the Becos Society. Incidentally, JJ's mother is also a Rotarian. Jennifer, we are presented in honor of your visit to Rotary Club of Madras, the project much closer to your heart. COVID is mainly because of cardiac, renal, and pulmonary problems. The mortality rate is more in those cases. To ensure that we as a Rotarian contribute in some way, 2 dialysis machines has been donated to mark your visit to us. Today is a red letter day in our history of Rotary Club of Madras, and as Gopi said, there have been number of incidences, but for us Rotarians, Jennifer Jones' visit is what matters. Jennifer, when you are going to be in India on 10th to 12th December 2021, 11 months away from now, you will have to visit Chennai, you will have to Madras, you will have to go for the Mahabalipuram, your institute. It's a 30 kilometers distance from here. You will be our guest. We will be taking you to the 2 sites where the projects have been inaugurated by you to show. I'll be one of the escorts. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the great pleasure to introduce the first lady president of Rotary Movement, the 112th president in the 117th year, Rotarian Jennifer Jones. Please clap, get up, and welcome her. Thank you.
Thank you, Gopal Ratnam, for your exhaustive introduction of Jennifer. Jennifer, before you take over,
because of the personality.
Yeah, before you take over and address us, would you like to say a few words on the projects that we inaugurated in your honor?
Yes, very much so. First, let me just begin by saying, and I'm going to refer to you as RCM as you do, because I love that you've got it down to a short acronym. But I couldn't begin to tell you the magnificence of this meeting already, and being able to witness the incredible scope of work that you have been able to do in your community and in your world, and then to be able to be part of inaugurating 2 different projects that are incredibly important to your area, and quite candidly important things that resonate the world over: dialysis machines I know from my time in India that there are many dialysis hospitals and that this is something of great concern. And so to be able to be tied into something that will profoundly change some lives in your beautiful city, that is incredibly meaningful. And as the trees were being presented, I couldn't help but think that I can't wait for the day that travel resumes and to be able to visit your city once again, because I am familiar with Chennai and have spent time there with Director Venki. I'll speak about that in a few minutes, but I look very much forward to a day when we can go and water those trees together, and even more so to the days when they bear fruit. And won't that be a day that we can all celebrate? So my most profound thanks for the incredible gesture and gifts, and for your incredible kindness.
Thank you, Jennifer. We are 517 on the call and counting. And now you can take over and address us.
Well, thank you so much, and Gopal, for the incredible introduction. And yes, it was epic, and and thank you to my fellow club members for providing some of the insight into things from yesteryear that entered into that. And President Kapil, I'm so pleased, as I said, to be able to be here on a day that you have presented your club in such a brilliant way. I do want to also point out that Kamala, one of your newest members, and the four-way test that she was able to share in that video was absolutely stunning, and something that quite honestly could be packaged and shared with Rotary clubs around the world. What a wonderful way to bring the four-way test to life. So thank you for sharing that incredible gift. I would like to begin by recognizing that we do have so many dignitaries that are on the call today, and good day to everyone who is on the call. And let me just begin by pointing out the obvious. My director colleague, who I will work with on the board, and that is Venki, who is on the call with us today. And I am not sure of all of the other senior leaders who might be present. So let me just say, all protocols observed. And please know that for all of you who are here, my sincere thanks for joining and for being part of this assembly today. The Rotary Club of Madras, I have to say that the video that you played of your club anthem is again something I will never forget. That was a wonderful way to bring to life the activities that you are doing to showcase what it is that the difference that you're making in the world. But I did write down at the time, fighting polio and throwing COVID out. And today you've asked me to speak about the future of Rotary, and those could not be two phrases that were more relevant to the history of what we are doing today in our world, and two topics that I was already intending to speak about. So the future of Rotary. Where are we going from here? We have been through many dark days in the past several months, and I know that for those on the call, there is not a man, woman, or child in our world who has not been touched by what we have gone through, this global pandemic. And in one way, in a very unique way, it has galvanized us together. I think that we have never been more connected than we are today. You know, if we transit back almost a year ago to last March, when we went into a global lockdown, Rotarians, people of action, you and I, we understood that we needed to still be united. We still needed to be together in shared service, in shared sentiment with each other about what it is that we were going through. And so we didn't have to ask you to be people of action. You showed us that you already were. Jumping onto virtual platforms and perfecting them, quite honestly, like today's meeting, a best practice of a virtual meeting that I've seen. Being able to showcase the best of what you do, and to be able to single out new Rotarians. What a great way, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes, what a great way to make sure that people feel engaged with our organization. But I think back to that time, and yes, we're more connected now than ever. And at that point in time, I think all of us, you know, there was great fear. We still have great fear, but right now we also have great hope. And that's because vaccines have become available. The almost improbable has been made probable because of the incredible researchers and scientists around the world that have literally and truly worked around the clock to make sure that vaccines could be produced that will save lives. And we have lost too many. To any of you who are listening here today that have lost a friend or a loved one to COVID-19 during this incredible time in our history, my sincerest condolences to you. I know that each one of us has been touched in profound ways, and I think back to the very beginning of all of this, and it touched our family's life in a way because my husband, as was mentioned, is a family physician, and he is the medical director of a seniors residence where they lost several of the members in the early first wave of this pandemic. And now, as we approach to the holidays, we see that cases and incidents have been going up around the world. I see on the call my good friend Eve in England. I know that they have been struggling profoundly. I see people from countries all over our world where this is something that is not getting better, it's getting worse. And we have more months before we're going to see the light of day, but we do have hope. We do have hope. And one by one, each of us is going to be vaccinated because, and we're going to speak about this. We're going to speak about this to our friends and neighbors because we are the vaccination people. We are the people who stood up and said that polio could be eradicated. And we need to use our voices for those who have vaccine hesitancy to let them know that this is a safe procedure, something that will prevent us from getting the disease that has taken so many of our friends and loved ones. So let's think about some of the things where we have had incredible impact because they show us, history shows us what our future can be. And polio is one of those things. If you think back to more than 30 years ago when we took on polio as an organization, when one person had an idea to eradicate polio, to take it off of the planet, to kick it out, to throw COVID out, your words, when one person decided that that was a great idea and it spread to so many others, to all of us across the world to say, we know that we can do this. But if you think about it, in those early days, and this was a reflection of a good Rotarian leader friend, he said to a group of us, if we had gone to Rotarians more than 30 years ago and said, we need you to immunize more than 3 billion children. We need you to raise more than $2.1 billion. And we know it's going to take us more than 30 years to eradicate this disease. Would we have done it? The likelihood is probably no. We probably would have seen that as insurmountable. But because of that, we have a public health infrastructure across the globe in more than 70 countries where we are able to tackle polio and polio plus, which COVID now is, so many other things, malaria, tuberculosis, all different kinds of things that we are able to tackle because of this public health infrastructure that we have formed with our partners, the WHO, UNICEF, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the CDC and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. And that has provided us with the opportunity to do the improbable. And it has also given us some things to celebrate during a time when we have had dark days. Last August, for example, we were able to take Nigeria off of the endemic list, able to kick polio out of Nigeria, which means that the entire African continent was able to be certified wild polio virus free. What an incredible celebration for us as Rotarians who have been leading the way to make sure that happens. And we now know that we have 2 remaining countries endemic, Pakistan and Afghanistan. And our job is not done until every last child is reached. But we know that last March, when we went into collective global lockdown, we also had to take a pause in vaccinations. And at that time, that was something that I think all of us kind of went, oh goodness. But at the same time, those frontline workers were able to pivot, a 2020 word, pivot. They were able to go from being polio frontline workers to COVID frontline workers, thousands of workers. And while they had to pause on vaccinations, what they didn't pause on was doing surveillance and contact tracing, being able to identify where COVID exists so that we could shut it down. This is the same public health infrastructure that shut down Ebola. And we should be so proud of the efforts of those frontline workers that have provided us with this kind of opportunity. Now, something else worth celebrating is that during the time Nigeria was also declared wild polio virus free, we also had one of our Rotarians in Lagos, Nigeria, Dr. Tunji Funsho. He was recognized by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people of the world last year because of his efforts. He was able to galvanize a movement within his own country to help us eradicate polio. And you know, it's an interesting little twist of a story that he was recognized. The editor-in-chief, one of the editors-in-chief of Time magazine, Jeffrey Kluger, is now a good friend of Rotary. But a few years back, when we approached him and said that we wanted Time magazine to do a story about Rotary and public health, he looked at us and said, "Why Rotary?" And then we had to educate him. We had to tell him what it is that we're doing. And therefore, he's become one of our dear friends, has spoken at our convention, at our World Polio Days, and has then put forward Dr. Funsho as one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. He stands now shoulder to shoulder with the Dalai Lama, with Nelson Mandela, so many other notables in our globe. But you know, for those of us who know Tunji, he'll be the first to tell you that he is the face of all of us. While he may be recognized, he stands as a figurehead for each and every one of you who has played a role in immunizing polio in our world. And so to those of you who have made it a priority, thank you. Thank you for that. Now, we have so many other things that we are looking forward to. We're looking forward to a day when we get to be together again in shared service. One of the reasons and the hallmarks of our great organization, being able to do service. And if we look at the research of why people join and why people stay in our organization, it is for service and for friendship and fellowship. And you know, it's interesting, even though we are still in collective lockdown, we are seeing images and videos and Facebook posts and articles and newspaper and television programs that are highlighting the things that we as Rotarians have been able to do. We know that in the early days, the Rotary Foundation, we were able to put $3 million into our disaster response fund so that Rotarians could help people on the front lines, that we were able to do disaster response grants of $25,000 per district to get that money to the front lines. And you know, it was interesting. The Rotary Foundation trustees approved over a couple of days $3 million that went into the disaster response fund. And literally within a matter of 3 to 4 days, those funds were announced, put into the field for grant applications, and on the front line within 3 to 4 days. For those of you who have worked on grants, whether it's in Rotary or elsewhere, you know that that is lightning speed, but we knew that we had to make that happen. Now, over the course of the next several months following that, we were able to put and orchestrate more than $29 million of global grants and disaster response grants that technically went through the Rotary Foundation, that friends, you and I have been able to participate in, getting again critical funds to the front line for PPE, for ventilators, for food scarcity issues. And these are incredible things that we've been able to do. That's $29 million that we've been able to quantify that has gone through the Rotary Foundation. But I dare say one of the things that is probably most likely is that we know that Rotary clubs like yours, like mine, and I believe my own club president, Mara Riccardi, is on the call today. So Mara, hello to you. But Rotary clubs around the world galvanized in creating masks and doing all kinds of things and raising funds. And while technically we may have put $29 million through the Rotary Foundation, I would venture to say that it's hundreds of millions of dollars that we have been able to create in impact across the globe in every community, both yours and mine. And that's what we do because we're people of action. Other things that we have on the horizon right now as we look forward to the future of our organization and where we're going. Rotaract. I know that we have many Rotaractors who are on the call today, and so a big shout out to everyone who is involved in our Rotaract movement, a membership type now of Rotary International. And they could not make us more relevant today than ever. We know that the future is very bright and that it is in their hands. We have been working for many years, particularly the past decade, to try and attract and diversify our membership. We've been working to attract women and members under the age of 40, certainly our Rotaract population. We've been talking about it in earnest, yet we haven't been able to really make a difference. We've only had a small nudge in both of those categories. And I think that bringing Rotaractors closer to us as a membership type, no longer as a partner, one of us, that is going to help to raise up the Rotaract movement so that we have a very bright future. I know that for New Year's, this is a great example of how Rotaract performs perhaps a little bit differently than our traditional Rotary clubs. About a week before New Year's Eve, I had a phone call, a FaceTime call, I guess it was, from a Rotaractor who I've gotten to know well in New Zealand, Becky Giblin. And Becky reached out to me and she said, Jen, she said, you know what? We've put together the world of Rotaract. And this is Rotaractors from every corner of the world. We've put together a 24-hour New Year's Eve online event, and we want you to participate in it. And my sister-in-law and I were together, and we said, we will absolutely participate. We'll help you with some of your programming. And you know, what was incredible about this was that they pulled it off. They had a 24-hour event. They started New Year's Eve in New Zealand, in the South Pacific, where it first strikes, and then they moved across the globe, being able to showcase what was going on in different parts of the world, talking about what was relevant in those parts of the world, having Rotarians and Rotaractors and experts talk about things like the environment. It was wonderful. But you know what was the hallmark of that for me? Is that it was only a week earlier that they had the idea. They didn't have to form elaborate committees. They didn't have 1,700 meetings to try and put a plan together. They just said, we're going to do it. And I think that that's something that we can learn from Rotaract, that they are leaders who understand that they can take action in a very quick and decisive way. And one of the things I believe that we need to be looking at is mentorship. Now, not mentorship perhaps in the traditional sense, but I believe that we have a wonderful opportunity to perhaps close the hierarchy a little bit between our younger Rotaract members and perhaps some of us who are a few years older than that, to do cross-mentorship with each other, to learn from each other. We have so much to learn in both directions of what it is that the opportunities that we can provide for each other. And, you know, I think that as we talk about age, many of you have heard me perhaps reflect on this before, but I believe that in our organization, what we need is young thinkers. And so having a prescribed age group is not necessarily the way forward in my estimation. It's young thinkers. Because have you met a 25-year-old who's old? Have you met an 85-year-old who's young? Yes, and everything in between. And so we need progressive thinking in our organization to take us forward. Now, the future, as I mentioned, also includes bridging the gender gap and increasing the amount of women in our organization. I like to talk about this from it being a business perspective. If in our own companies we were looking at a market share that was underperforming, and let's just look at the underperformance here, we have 24% approximately women in our organization globally. Certainly in some areas of the world, it's a little bit higher. In North America, it's about 34-35%. In the Caribbean, as high as 48 and 52% in some countries. So if we're looking at an underperforming market share in our own business, what would we do? We would tweak our business plan to make sure that we were looking to incorporate that, to build it. And when we look at the landscape, more than half the world's population is both male and female. Now, I don't think that we need to go on a campaign necessarily that's specifically about women. We need to be looking for the best and the brightest, both men and women. It's just we have an underperforming market share that I think we can pick up some space on. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to focus a little bit more on bringing balance into our organization. And that is perhaps, and this will be the last thing that I'll comment on, and then I'd really love to be able to turn it over to questions and answers. I'd like to be more in dialogue with all of you than talking directly to you. But diversity, equity, and inclusion is the final thing that I'll touch on. And that is something that our organization is taking an incredibly powerful look at right now. Over a year ago, we embraced and adopted a new diversity, equity, and inclusion statement for our organization. Now, we know that this is something that is happening in governments and other NGOs and companies around the world. We're taking a more intentional look at how we create a diverse perspective in our clubs. And that's the way that I like to frame it. It's a diverse perspective that Rotary provides, that permits us, that allows us, that helps us champion solving the world's most pressing challenges. It's because we're able to look at things from a different perspective. If we were all one type of person, one gender, one occupation, one religion, one culture, we would only look at things through one lens. But because we bring together a landscape, a mosaic of people, a tapestry, if you will, of people of different religions and cultures and age groups and gender and so many other diverse points, we are able to solve the problems of the world because we are able to look at it through a multitude of lenses. And that is the greatest hallmark, I believe, of our organization, is that we showcase the best to our world at a time when we see countries around the world that perhaps are struggling, that there are diversity issues. We, as Rotarians, provide a safe environment for conversation, for dialogue about what diversity means. And we're able to showcase the best of it through our intentions and through our clubs and through our actions, most importantly. And so I know that that's a conversation that we're going to be having for some time. And I'm very excited to tell you that Director Valerie Wafer, also a colleague from Canada, is chairing our new Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. And it has been populated by a group of individuals from around the world, Rotarians, who are going to help create a toolbox for all of us. Tools to put into our own toolbox so that we can figure out how to have maybe some of these challenging conversations in our own clubs and to challenge ourselves to be our best and to look for the best diverse points. And so stay tuned. There is a lot of information that will be coming in the next few months with all of that. So with that, I really would love to open the floor to questions and answers. I want to be respectful of time. I know that we have a time limit here. So let me turn the floor back over. Gopal, I'm not sure if I'm going to you or to President Kapil, whoever.
Past President Gopi will handle the Q&A, Jennifer.
Perfect, thank you. Gopi, over to you.
You're on mute, Gopi.
Oh my God. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for an erudite exposition of what the future of Rotary is going to be. Before I go to the questions, I must tell you, although I cannot recognize each and every one of them of the 500 people that have come in, we have Rotarians from all over the world, as I said, from Paraguay, from Peru, from California, from Jerusalem, and practically from all over. And we have a number of past district governors and DGNs. So I'll borrow the phrase from you and say all protocols observed. And I welcome every one of them to this meeting. Now, to go to the next, the Q&A, I have a question here from DGE Alka Kanolkar from District 6000 in Iowa, Keokuk, Iowa. She says, thank you, Jennifer Jones, for a very informative presentation. At this time, is it possible to get an insight about the RI convention and if it is still going to take place in Taipei this year, or will it be a virtual platform or a hybrid setting? Thank you. The same question is asked by John also. I'll come back to it later.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. And I do appreciate it because I know we're all on pins and needles wondering whether or not we're going to be able to be together in Taipei, Taiwan for the international convention. What I can tell you is that we're very closely monitoring the status of COVID in all countries around the world. Right now, we know that cases are spiking in many different parts. The RI Board of Directors under President Holger Knak's leadership, our president, who's doing a brilliant job this year in such a positive ray of light in some of this incredible darkness. Under his leadership, the board will be taking a decision, I believe, at the end of this month when the board meets. And it will be informed by a number of different factors. There is no decision outright at this point. They'll be weighing all of the factors that are involved in moving forward. But I can tell you that the number one factor that they will be weighing is the safety and protection of each and every one of you, all of our members. And so as we are able to engage in safely getting together again, we will certainly make sure that that is the number one priority for our organization. We need to make sure that when we finally are able to be together again in person, that it is with the safety and well-being of every one of our members being held at the highest regard. So at this point in time, I don't have an update for you, but in the next couple of weeks, we should have a definitive answer.
Thank you. And that same question was asked by Jean-Louis Guyenne Key. I hope I pronounced this name right. And I hope both of you, Alka and Jean, I hope your question is answered. We have another question from our own Rotarian from the Rotary Club of Madras, from Rani Muralidharan, past President Rani Muralidharan. And she asks a question which probably many people have asked you around the world. How did you break the glass ceiling, of women in Rotary? And she says she's so proud of you.
Well, that's very kind, and thank you for the question. I think that the easy answer is to say, just as my male colleagues have, we've all put in time in our organization in various leadership roles, whether it has obviously starting as a club president, being a district governor, serving on the RI board, and that is one of the qualifications for becoming president is completing your term as an RI director, and then being able to as with all of us, there's opportunities for us to always increase our leadership opportunities. And I was able to sit as a trustee of the foundation and see and be able to participate in that kind of dialogue with wonderful global leaders, as you know. And there came a time when, as would with my male colleagues, it was time to be able to put, to take a step forward. And I'm very pleased and humbled and excited by the opportunity of what this represents. I believe that it represents a positive move forward for our organization. And it's not, I've said this many times, I firmly believe, and it has been validated by the nominating committee, I was not selected because of my gender. I was selected because of my qualifications. Yes. And I believe that is something that is important for us to recognize. But I do hope that it is a signal that that there is an opportunity for people, other diverse perspectives, to step forward in leadership in our organization. And I hope that this, in some ways, is a way that represents for women coming behind that they are going to step forward to say, I think I can be a club president. I think I can be a district governor. And then they can inspire others around them as well, both men and women.
Thank you, Rani. Now go for it. You've already been president, so we can go forward. The next question is from DGN Grace Okaro from District 9142, probably Nigeria, I'm not sure which one.
Yes.
She says, how do we handle the issue of Rotaractors beginning to pay dues in 22-23? Already some of them are complaining in my district. I think it's the $5 per head. I think that's what you...
Yeah, $8 I think it is for a community-based and $5 for an institutional-based. So one of the things, Grace, and thank you for the question and thank you for your leadership. One of the things that I believe firmly is that we set aside funds or payment, whether it's for our dues or whether it's for something else, for things that we believe have value. And that, while it may be a struggle for an individual, I do believe that in many parts of the world, it's the price of a cup of coffee. And not that I want to belittle, an expense for someone, but for any of us, the membership in our organization, we pay it because we believe it provides value to us. And so for the kind of leadership opportunity, training, and personal development that comes from the association of being involved with Rotary, as a Rotarian, as a Rotaractor, I do believe that this fee, which has been determined by Rotaractors, is something that a fee that they set, they put the parameters on it. There will be some complaints. But I also know of some clubs that have already indicated that they will set their dues at $40, $50, $60 because they know that they want to have some funds in their own club pool to be able to work on projects. So I think that it is a struggle, and I think that if there are individuals that are coming to you and sharing their concerns, perhaps there's ways even to find a good friend who might sponsor them, something like that. But the rate and the fees were structured by the Rotaractors themselves.
Thank you, Jennifer. Just an extension to that question, I don't need an answer from you, but we have been deliberating this, that it could be a kind of a dampener for growth of Rotarians, because if someone were to, you've removed the maximum age ceiling too. So if someone decides to remain a Rotractor paying only $5, he could do so, and it could have an effect on Rotary. That's just an observation.
Yes.
The next question is from a friend of mine called Narasimha Joshi. He's from the E-Club of Belgaum, which is in Karnataka, which is the western state. He says, Madam, do you think e-platform is the future for Rotary to connect? That's it. So.
Yes, let me just step back for a second and just touch on the comment that you made about the age limit and the cost. I think one of the things that I would say to that is that it is a time for us to make sure that all of our Rotary clubs are looking our best and our brightest and our most relevant, so that members of Rotaract clubs strive to be in our Rotary clubs. We need to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward. So that is a personal challenge to all Rotary clubs.
Absolutely.
Yes. Switching over to the question, and forgive me.
Is E-Club the way forward?
Yes. I believe that a hybrid approach is probably going to be, in my estimation, one of the best ways that we can harness what we've learned over the past year. We have learned, obviously, that we have a global passport. Look at the countries that you've already mentioned that are on this call. It is not unfamiliar for us now to get onto a call at any given time of the day in some part of the Rotary world and connect with people. Legitimate, honest, real connections and friendships. I can tell you, I have made so many friends over the past year across the globe, reaffirmed friendships with people across the globe. And we each get to show up at these meetings with a virtual passport, a Rotary passport, and have it stamped. And what a hallmark of who we are as an organization. So we can't lose this. What we need to be able to do is figure out the balance between in-person meetings and the virtual experience. I, quite candidly, would love to see a model where a Rotary club, a successful Rotary club, had a couple of in-person meetings in a month, but also had one virtual meeting in a month, where you don't lose sight of the fact that, you know, it's not weird or unusual any longer for you and Chennai to be speaking with someone from Canada, and to continue to have this ability to see diverse perspectives from different corners of the world. Why would we want to lose that? I don't think we would. I think this is, yes, we need to be back together again. We're social beings. We need to be together in service and fellowship. The reasons, as I said earlier, why we join and why we stay. But to lose this would be a mistake. I think that, you know, I said at the beginning, you've perfected it. Look at your meeting today. You've done it brilliantly. And to lose that, it would be so sad. So we need to look at the best practices moving forward to continue with things like this. I know that virtual platforms are going to be things that I harness during the time that I have the opportunity to lead, and I will be engaging in this. Definitely visiting with people, and I look forward to watering the trees and seeing the dialysis machines, but I also look forward to maintaining this kind of dialogue, because it gives us a chance to break down barriers, particularly for people who aren't able to travel, yet get to know people in other parts of the world.
Thank you, Jennifer. And just to go back to your comment on making Rotary clubs better, we in the Rotary Club of Madras have no problems on that front. We consider ourselves one of the best clubs in the world.
Well done.
There are two more questions. One from İlknur, District 2440, Turkey, Rotary Club of Korea, it says. New type of membership is going to be a cause-based Rotary clubs. What do you think about this? A cause-based Rotary club?
Yes, so cause-based Rotary clubs have been certainly evolving and have been sort of coming up in all different parts of the world. And one of the things that obviously is the hallmark of that is that it is uniting people behind something that they all collectively and collaboratively believe in. And so that's a great thing. What I would challenge cause-based clubs to make sure that they still maintain the diverse perspective that I passionately believe is the hallmark of our organization. And so while they may be very focused and in a very positive way on solving a particular problem, that it's not at the risk of losing the entire environment that we have within Rotary, and that they are a fulsome experience. So I think that there is a very incredible opportunity for these to exist, but I do hope that they have a broad experience.
The other question is from Dr. Nirmala Natarajan from the Rotary Club of Kovai Pudur, which is south of Tamil Nadu in our state. She says, what steps will you take to increase women members in Rotary? Will you give any concession for them in allied dues?
Well, that is the first time I have been asked about a concession in dues, and I have to say that is not likely. I think that in terms of growing the female demographic within our organization, I hope that leadership by example, quite frankly, is something that will pay dividends.
Thank you. The next question is from a very senior Rotarian called Bhaskaran Pillai from Kerala. You were talking to Kerala yesterday, and you wanted to go there on your bucket list. So Dr. Bhaskaran Pillai has actually authored a book called Know Your Rotary. I don't know whether you can see this here.
Yes.
Know Your Rotary.
Well, now at first I could, yes.
Okay, Know Your Rotary, and he's bringing out the next edition. He says 5 years back in an interview to Rotary News, you said that Rotary would be having its first woman president in 5 years' time. You also mentioned that the nomination would be on merit and not on the consideration of the nominee, that the nominee is a woman. Both your predictions have come true. Did you ever think that the Rotary world would zero in on you as that historic nominee?
It sounds like I had a crystal ball, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know what? At the time, I was sitting on President Ravi Ravindran's board, and I was asked to do the interview with Rashida from the Indian Rotary magazine. And so I met with her, and he had asked if I would go and speak with her. It was about, I believe the topic at the time was about women in Rotary. And sitting in a leadership position at that point in time, I could feel the energy towards our membership very much wanting to see a woman leader, a woman president for the first time. And I can tell you that there's not a single Rotary leader in our world who has not traveled. And one of the first questions for the past several years that we've all received is, when are we going to see a woman president? And so it wasn't so much a prediction, it was a matter of realizing that this was a grassroots movement, a desire within our organization to see this happen. And I think that, quite honestly, we've only had a small critical mass of women who have served at the board level, who actually technically could put their names forward or be submitted for the leadership position. And I just knew that there would be a point in time that would be fairly soon where, again, a woman would be selected not because she was a woman, but because she was a qualified Rotarian. And I just at that point in time thought that it surely would be in the cards in a fairly short order. And it certainly has been interesting to see those words come back around.
Thank you, Jennifer. There's another question from our DGE of this district, Jay Sridhar. He says, how is the integration of Rotaract clubs as part of Rotary in your plan for 22-23? I think it's already integrated, but then you can go ahead and answer.
Yes, I think that what we're seeing right now, and certainly something that I'm personally a champion of, is ensuring that Rotaractors assume places in our standing committees, the top committees of Rotary International, that are provided with opportunities for leadership growth and development so that they can assume roles of leadership within our organization. And so an example of this would be the environment, which, as you know, we will formally launch on July 1 of this year. And we had a task force that was comprised and put together to deal with how we were going to launch the environment and what would the fund development look like, the model for this as we launch it as a grant opportunity. And so I was charged with putting together and assembling this group. And it was very important to me that we have a Rotaract voice. And so in this task force, it's 4 Rotarians, 4 global Rotarians, and 4 global Rotaractors. And they're working together to look at the ways that we have done things traditionally. And the Rotaractors are there to be able to showcase fresh thinking, to challenge the ways that perhaps that we've always done it. Isn't that something that Rotary clubs that we hear the time and time over? Well, we don't do it that way. It's not the way we've always done it. Well, sometimes we need to look at those things and look at whether or not change is inevitable and or needed. And so Rotaractors are providing a wonderful opportunity to make us perhaps take a look at things through a different lens, to look at how we maybe could do it a little bit differently. And so I believe that that is something that we need to see across the organization at every different level. And what will happen out of this is that younger leaders will be provided, will be seeking out personal growth and leadership opportunities. And just like all of us, that's the hallmark of what we get. We bring leaders in and we make better leaders. And for Rotaractors, this is an opportunity for them to enhance and grow those skills. And perhaps we will see them rise to senior levels of leadership within our organization in perhaps a shorter order than we have in the past.
Thank you very much, Jen. Before I go to the next question, we have Past RI Director PT on the call. PT, if you're listening, I think if you can just kind of send your message to everyone instead of directly to me, the Rotarian Cheno will pick it up and send it to me. I have not seen your question thus far, so I'll come back to you on that. We have a question from Past RI President Eve Conway yes. from UK. And she asks, what impact will COVID-19 have on Rotary in the long term? Will Rotary emerge stronger from the pandemic?
Great question, and really good to see you, Eve, my great colleague. We sit on the Make History Today Countdown to History and Polio Now committee together, and she's been doing just incredible work in Great Britain and Ireland. So good to see you, and thank you for the question. Yes, I believe that COVID is a game changer for everyone, whether it's Rotary or government or corporations. I think we've all had to look at how to take a very serious look at our ability to adapt. One of our pillars in our strategic action plan, our strategic priorities, to our ability to adapt. And Rotarians the world over have shown us that we have the ability to adapt. As I mentioned in the beginning, that we're more relevant than ever. But the relevance right now is the role that we're going to play in helping to eliminate COVID from our world. And we have a task force that has been struck just before the holidays, and it contains our most senior leaders. And so on the RI side of the equation, President Holger, President-elect Shaker, myself, and then on the TRF side, we have Trustee Chair Ravi Ravindran, Chair-elect John Germ, and Chair nominee Ian Risley from Australia, working along with different members of our Secretariat to establish, what are the steps forward for us as an organization to make a difference. Now, I would love to point out that India, you will be a best practice that we will talk about for decades to come. You are first out of the gate with a national organization plan that Ashok Mahajan is going to lead, one of our past Rotary International directors. And it has implications that trickle down all the way to the zone and to the club level about the logistics of helping our governments ensure that our people are vaccinated. And so we will be looking to you for a page out of your book on how that can happen. For those of you who are not in the country of India, certainly what we know is that, and are encouraging dialogue to happen, we are leaders in our organization. And so we are connected. We have networks to our local, our municipal, our regional, our national governments. And reaching out right now to ask what help is needed is something that we can do, and that we can mobilize as Rotarians to be able to help our communities as they need it. This is a technical injection of a vaccine that requires a medical specialist, and so it's unlike polio, where we can go and give 2 drops. This is an injectable vaccine, but what we can provide is logistics support, awareness support, using our voice, as I said earlier, to talk about vaccine hesitancy, encouraging our friends and neighbors to be vaccinated, also to be using our voice to help showcase where vaccines are available, for awareness about where vaccines may be provided, and helping to get people perhaps there, but doing it safely, doing it within the right parameters that our own governments outline, But I do believe there's a role for us to play, and you'll be hearing more from the assembly that I just mentioned that is on this task force in the very short next few weeks.
Jennifer, you look very relaxed, so may I ask you this question? Are you okay to take a few more questions? There are a number of questions coming up, but we'll have to stop at some stage.
I am more than happy to take questions. I just want to be mindful of everyone else's time.
All right. Then I will say 5 more questions, and then we'll close with that. And the rest of the questions, we will try to send it to you, and you could probably reply at leisure, whatever is there. Okay. The next question. Okay, I know you won't have much time, but anyway, we'll do our bit. The next question is from Tomasz Michalik from Poland. He says, COVID has stopped youth exchange, one of the most important programs of Rotary. Do you think ongoing virtual with connecting young people across the world, the question is not complete, but then I think he means, do you think virtual meetings like these will help connect with the young people?
Yes, actually, there is back in the very beginning of lockdown, I was on a call, and there was a young woman from Venezuela, Aniela Carrero, I think is her last name. And Aniela was on the call, and she spoke up, and she was doing youth exchange in the United States, and she was still there. She wasn't able to transit home at that time. But she, along with her Interact friends and youth exchange friends, formed Youth Under Quarantine or something like this. And I'm going to be speaking to them in about 2 weeks' time. And it was exactly that, gathering together from around the world, youth exchange and interactors to be a voice during quarantine, to provide an opportunity and a platform for dialogue with each other. And one of the most critical things out of that, and this is a whole other dialogue for probably a whole other full-on call, is, we know the physical effect of what COVID is, what it's doing. But the psychological and the mental health issues that are associated with this are profound. People who are losing businesses, clearly losing family and friends. There are a lot of things here, a lot of instability, a lot of uncertainty, and consequently a lot of mental health issues. And for young people, they understood that, and this was one of the primary reasons that they did it. They knew that they needed to stay connected for their own well-being. And I think that, we've all been able to take a page out of that book, whether we realize it or not, that this has been a very big mental health support network and system for all of us, making sure that we are still connected while we're isolated, and that we're also taking the opportunity to make sure that those around us are safe. And so I look forward to a day that the Youth Exchange program is able to resume in earnest. It is one of the jewels in our crown. And I know that I have youth exchange sons that I treasure dearly, that are my family. And, I want other people to have that experience as well.
Thank you. I haven't, Jen, we were talking about our Canadian connection with the Rotary Club of Madras. We were formed by a Canadian, we were founded by a Canadian, James Wheeler Davidson, of which many clubs are here on the call today. I welcome them especially, and also the grandson, Dan Abramson, and his wife, Leslie, are also on the call, as you know. Now, last year, our IPP was a Canadian too, so it came a full circle. And she has a question. Her name is Vijay Bharati, Dr. Vijay Bharati. And she says, hello, Jennifer. It was lovely to have met you in Calcutta during the 100th year celebration. I'm doubly proud of you as a woman and also as a fellow Canadian. She still holds a Canadian passport. And to take up this challenge. Rotary clubs in India are the largest group of Rotarians in the world. How will you encourage and empower future leaders? And how will you effectively promote diversity around the world? Did I go too fast?
Repeat that one more time, the last part.
Yeah. How will you encourage and empower future leaders? And how will you effectively promote diversity around the world? In the context of India being the largest group of Rotarians in the world, which probably is true.
Well, so I guess technically, if you look at the numbers, I believe that the United States is still the highest number of members. But I don't think we need to get into the semantics of the largest group. India, perhaps, and let me frame it this way: the largest and fastest growing, or the fastest growing area of the Rotary world, certainly one of. And I think that in terms of empowering growth in this area, it's something that I've talked quite a bit about on this call, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think that having those important dialogues in our clubs is something that is greatly important. And I'm also going to touch on what I've talked about is the mentorship aspect. I think that women leaders in our organization, we have many, and certainly within India, I believe the percentage of women in India specifically is 11, perhaps 12% of the population. So I think setting a goal on how to increase that is perhaps one thing to talk openly about growth. I think that is something that would be very valuable in moving the needle, is actually acknowledging that you would like to grow that demographic. And then for female leaders to be able to mentor, perhaps, and I was going to say for female leaders to mentor other females, but you know what, quite candidly, all of my mentors, not all of them, one of my mentors, Mary Jean Gallagher, I believe, is on this call, and clearly she is a woman, but most of my mentors are men. And the ones who have opened doors to other leadership opportunities in many ways, both in my business life and in my volunteer life, have been men. So I think it's incumbent upon us as leaders, generically, in our organization, regardless of our gender, to be looking for the best and the brightest. And that is young women or women of any age, but it's also men. We need to make sure that we're finding the right people, and the right people at the right time for the right roles. We just need to be more mindful, perhaps, of nurturing and raising up other women who are in our fold, who might not have had these opportunities. I'll share with you a brief story. My mother is a Rotarian, and it's the last official act that I had as a district governor when I was serving, was to induct my mom into the same club that we belong to. And my mom does the bookwork for my father's tool and die company, and she's volunteered as a docent at the art gallery in her church. She's had wonderful opportunities, but she was really challenged, and her leadership really, really blossomed and grew when she became a Rotary Club president. And, so much so that, even as her children, as her husband, we all were able to look with great joy at watching someone at a point in her life that perhaps she didn't think that she was going to grow, just absolutely blossom into an incredible leadership opportunity. And so I am immensely proud to have been able to witness that. And I want that, and I hope that is something that can happen for many people.
All right, thanks, Jen. There are lots of questions coming up, but I'll have to end here. I'm just going to request past RI Director P.T. Prabhakar, if Prasad, can you just unmute him to ask the question directly, because I don't see his question on the screen.
Can you give me the name again?
P.T. Prabhakar.
Our P.T. Prabhakar.
Yeah, our P.T. Prabhakar, yes.
From down the road.
I can't see him by his name.
He's SPRI.
Yeah, he's there. Yeah.
PR, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Jen, the question that, can you hear me, Jen?
I can,
Yes, we
PT.
can
How
hear
are you?
First class, thank you. And my question, you've been a seminar trainer, and I feel the International Assembly needs a bit of modernizing. And do you have any plans to do that in your year? You're an expert on that. You've been a seminar trainer for many years. I worked with you there.
Yes.
That was 10 years ago. And
Yes.
Do you think it requires some modernization?
So first and foremost, PT, great to see you. Or, well, I can't see you. I can see your name, but great to hear you. And glad that you've been able to join the call today, one of our past Rotary International directors, PT Prabhakar. And yes, actually, we got to know each other well at the International Assembly. Now, just to fill in the gaps for those who are listening who might not understand the nature of the question, the International Assembly is where the district governors elect every year go to be trained to become district governors. It has been held for the past several years in San Diego, California. This year, actually last year, we moved it to Orlando, Florida, but this year the International Assembly that will be convened by President-elect Sheikh Mehta, which starts on February 1st, was technically to take place in Orlando, but will be held as a virtual event. And to speak directly to your question, PT, about innovating an event that has been held in a similar way for a number of years, this year is going to be a hallmark of the greatest innovation of all, is looking at how we do it in a virtual world, ensuring the same level of training for our district governors, the highest level of training, but more importantly, the inspiration and the motivation to all of them, and the creation of the international network that happens. Director nominee Venki, who is on the call, that's where we met. We were classmates. We were district governors in the same year under Wilf Wilkinson and Rotary Shares. And I remember sitting in breakout sessions with Venki. We were seated just by chance next to each other, I think in 2 different breakout sessions. And, you know, as both younger Rotarians at that time, we served in 07, 08, so in our early 40s, and only in Rotary can you be young and old at the same time. And so we were serving together, and that's how our friendship started. And then fast forward to, you know, visiting Venki and many of you in Chennai, your beautiful city, and now being able to serve on the board of directors together. This is the magic of Rotary, that this is the hallmark of who we are, the global network that we have, and that we exist without borders and boundaries. It is truly a wonderful thing. And so directly to your question, PT, in terms of innovating, I believe that one of the things that will probably be a best go forward is the inclusion of some virtual capacity to the meeting, so that we can perhaps make the meeting, I would like to see some increase in the amount of time that we get to spend in networking and international connections with each other. And so stay tuned. That'll be something hopefully that we'll see in the very near future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. I think sadly we'll have to close the Q&A session right now. Now we just move on to the felicitation part of it. May I invite RI Director-elect A.S. Venkatesh to felicitate the keynote speaker and the chief guest. And before that, Prasad, can you please unmute Mara Riccardi too, please?
I have already done that.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Thanks, Gopi. It's wonderful to be here and listen to a good friend, Jen. Of course, she amazes me every time I listen to her, and that's her skill set. Thanks, Jen, for first of all making time out. I know it must be early in the morning, early in the day for you at Windsor, but thanks for making it here. And as she mentioned, coincidentally, I was also a club president when she was her club president. It was in 2001-2. And as luck would have it, we served as district governors in the same year. And coincidentally, now we'll be on the board together. Of course, she will be the president, I'll be a director there. But then our paths have gone more or less along the same lines. And I'm really happy to be on the board with her. She has been to Chennai in the past. So those of you who think that she's going to make it to Chennai only the next year for the first time, that's not true. She has been to Chennai a few years ago. Nick and Jen, at my request, they had come down to Chennai, spent a few days with me and Vinita. And I did take her to Mahabalipuram as well. So that is not going to be a surprise to her anymore. So all that has been done. So Gopal Ratnam has to think of something new to show her next time she comes to Chennai. And I want to share with you a personal story about my association with Jen. Of course, Rotary history, all of you know, so I'm not going to go there. A few years ago, my daughter got admission into Ann Arbor, Michigan, Ann Arbor for her master's. And at that time, my daughter was not even 18 yet. So as per the American laws, there had to be a local guardian to certify, otherwise they wouldn't let her study. And I didn't know anybody in Michigan. And I looked at the map and I found that Windsor was just a drive away from Michigan. So I called Jen and I said, Jen, can you be my daughter's local guardian? And she gladly agreed, not just on paper, but subsequently she took the effort. Nick and Jen drove down to Ann Arbor, took my daughter out for a meal, and everything a local guardian would do. That is something I would always be grateful to Jen for. Because as a father, to send a 17-year-old girl to the United States all by herself it was comforting to know that there is somebody whom I know was there to take care of her. So that is the kind of person she is: warm, friendly. She makes everybody comfortable. I don't think anybody who has ever interacted with her has ever felt uncomfortable with her. That's her style. And I have to share this one. When she was nominated president, I dug into my archives and found a photo of mine with Jen, and I said I'm going to post it on Facebook next morning because I was so proud of the fact that a friend of mine has now become the Rotary International president. And that was, I gave myself about 5 hours time to do that. And in those 5 hours, 4,400 people had found a photograph with Jennifer. And all of them, had posted it on Facebook. So I decided, no, I'm not going to do it. So she's such a friendly person, and everybody feels so happy. And they feel like she's one of us. And on that note, I should also add that when they were in Chennai, I've taken both Nick and Jen to the Indian store, Manyawar. And she wore an Indian sari, and Nick wore a band gala and a pajama and whatever. And they looked absolutely as Indian as any of us could ever be. So that's the kind of person she is, and I'm really happy that she is here. Jen, I look forward to the time that maybe we would meet in person, that hopefully it's sooner than later. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Venki.
Thank you, Venki. I would now call upon our own past district governor, JB Kamdar, who's an AKS level 2, and you know him very well. So, JB, for your felicitations, please.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you? So, my dear friends and dignitaries in Rotary, it's such a pleasure to be at this meeting of 500 participants in the presence of our good friend, Jennifer Jones. Marlene and I had the privilege of working under her leadership for 7 days when we went to the International Assembly in San Diego as training leaders in 2019, when Jennifer was the assistant moderator. And again, we had the pleasure of closely interacting with her at the Rotary Institute in Indore last year. And I can tell you, she is one of the most easily approachable, unassuming, forthright, and informal president nominees that I have come across in my Rotary life. We also know that the pleasant and friendly appearance is solidly backed by a very determined and hardworking person. I know how hard she worked during that International Assembly. She was a moving powerhouse of energy. She was on her feet all the time. She was almost everywhere at the same time. Few days before her planned visit to the Indore Institute, she had enormous trouble getting her visa. Her flights were changed. Some of her flights were cancelled. A normal person would have just given up. But as determined as she is, she persisted, and finally she landed up in time to be our guest at the Institute in Indore. Friends, we are privileged to have this inspiring and compassionate personality as our guest at our club's meeting today. And we will be even more inspired and privileged to have her as our president in 2022-23. Jennifer, we wish you all the best. It's been such a pleasure to have known you. You've been such a great friend. Wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you, JB. Give Marlene a hug, please.
Yeah.
Jennifer, I have to mention over here that JB is our club mentor and trainer for this year. He's done me the honor of being my mentor and trainer.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, you couldn't
Then
have anyone.
I forgot to tell you was that it was Kapil's father who brought me into Rotary. He was my mentor. So.
Okay. Okay, Jennifer, now before I go to call the next person who's going to be your governor in our district, Dr. Nandakumar, but before I call him, I would like to mention here that Sylvia Whitlock was on the call. I just noticed it now. The lady who joined Rotary in 1987, I think. So she was on the call too. I'm not sure whether she's still. Okay, there she is. Okay. So welcome, Sylvia.
Oh.
So from one first lady to another first lady, if I may say so.
If you haven't had her on your at a club meeting yet, she is an incredible program.
We haven't. So we'll take your word for that. Now,
Absolutely.
Dr. Nandakumar, can you come in, please, and felicitate your president?
Yes, sir.
Our president.
Yeah.
There is nothing I can say that Jennifer's presence doesn't say for itself. I think everyone who knows her knows that we have an incredible presidency to which we're all looking forward. And if you just look at the comments on the chat box today, see how people feel about Jennifer. I met her many years ago. She's been everything that I knew she.
Thank you, Sylvia. Nandakumar, on to you.
Thank you. President Kapil, RIPN Jennifer Jones, past President Gopi, my director on the board, Venki, members of Rotary Club of Madras and invitees to this meeting from all over the world. Congratulations on a wonderful meeting today. I think with the arrival of vaccines, the world is going to come back to what it was before, hopefully. Maybe by the time I become a governor and she becomes the RI president. And by now, I'm sure all of you will realize that Rotary Club of Madras is a beacon of Rotary International in this part of the world in District 3232. There's no doubts at all in this at all. Keep continuing to do the great work, guys. You've been phenomenal. Whatever work you've been doing in all these years, in the last 117 years, keep it going. And dear friends, two women are very special to me today. And one of them is the Rotary Club of Madras President Jayashree Sridhar in my year in 22-23 when she takes position. And I'm sure she will serve with distinction. And the second is, of course, my president, Rotary International President nominee Jennifer Jones, the future of Rotary as the first woman to attain the highest position in Rotary. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. This has become the game changer or the word. Now everybody is happy or worried or I don't know, but the ripple effect is there. I can see Rotarians in India looking for women as members, presidents, districts, and zones. It's been the catchword, and I'm sure we will see lots of women coming into the organization as members is what I foresee, whether it's Rotaractors or Rotarians. And I only hope that good things happen as we go forward. I look forward to working with her, and I will also have my dear RI Director-elect Venki, who's a very close friend from our own district, who's a disruptor in many ways. And he's that we may end up doubling the size of this 1.2 is what they were talking last week. And I look forward to 21-22, where they will try to double that number or move that 1.2 to at least 1.3 by the time that year gets over. Good luck to him. And thank you, President Kapil and Past President Gopi, for inviting me here today. It's been a great meeting, and we've got and all of you have got a bird's eye view of this wonderful person who we have here as the guest today. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Dr. Nandakumar. And Jen, before I call the last person to felicitate you, which I think is a surprise, I'm not sure whether it still is, but then before that, a little bit of statistics. You mentioned the overall women population in the world is 11 to 12%. We are much Rotary Club in the world.
In the world, 24%.
Or 24. Oh, then we are much below. But if it's 11 or 12, we in the Rotary Club of Madras are 14%. We have 36 ladies out of a membership of 256. It's just an
yes.
aside.
No, the statistic, that's wonderful. The statistic is India. The last I looked was at 11%. So
we are above the Indian average.
You're ahead of the curve in your country.
Yeah. So now the last person, I invite your president, Mara Riccardi, if she's on the call, to felicitate Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, how are you?
I'm just great. Well, Vanakkam, everyone. It is my great privilege to be here with to be here with this group of wonderful human beings, or as I like to call them, Rotarians, to felicitate Rotary International President nominee Jennifer Jones. Even though Jen will hold the highest position in Rotary in 2022-2023, she will always remain humble, caring, dedicated, selfless, and with the biggest heart. Windsor Roseland Rotary Club is so proud of her, as we call her our Jen, and we will stand by her side throughout her amazing journey all the way. And thank you to all of you who put this amazing meeting together. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank
you,
Mara.
Mara, and thank you. Yeah, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
No, thank you, Mara, and what a
Jen,
treat
do you want to say something?
Just thank you, Mara, so much, and what a treat to see you on the call here today, and love you.
We love you back.
Thank you, Mara, for the felicitation, as also the wonderful information you gave us about Jen, so that we could move away from the boring biodata of anyone's. So thank you so much. Now, as I said, the next item on the agenda is recognition of dignitaries. I don't think I'll be successful in doing it with so many dignitaries on the call. As I said again, I welcome all of them, and I thank all of them for being here on the call for such a wonderful exposition of the future of Rotary by President nominee. And now I pass the mic on to our president for his closing remarks.
Phil, can I have a word?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Kapil. Jen, and request to the Rotary Club of Windsor that they become sister club of Rotary Club of Madras. Can this be put into your agenda for the next board meeting, and Kapil would do the same thing? Your visit will add on to one more important milestone. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, Kapil.
Thank you, Gopalji. I think that would be our absolute pleasure. And I look forward to initiating that with Jennifer's Rotary Club. Jennifer, I won't take the liberty of calling you Jen just yet. But, but I must say that today's meeting is largely due to the conceptualization and efforts of my advisor this year, past President Gopal Ratnam and past President N.K. Gopinath, and so many of our dedicated and enthusiastic Rotarians. I thank each and every one of them for today. Diversity and inclusion is very much a priority in our club. And you might be interested to note that we have a fairly strong sexual harassment policy with more ladies coming into the club, and something we are fine-tuning it so that it becomes equitable to both the male and female members of our club. Though they are all just Rotarians. You mentioned one point about, if I may make a suggestion, about the Rotaract fee of $5 that some may find high, particularly in a developing countries, so to speak. I had a chat with one of the DRRs a couple of days ago for something else. And he mentioned this to me, and I suggested to him that most of them are part of an institution. So I said that if the institution takes pride in what they are doing and the efforts that they are putting in, I'm sure the institution would help out in case such a need does arise. And I think he found that to be something that might work. So perhaps other clubs in Asia, perhaps in Africa, etc., could try and work that out for what it's worth. I will close by just saying this, is that one of my all-time favorite musicians, John Lennon, had said, "A dream you dream alone is often only a dream. However, a dream you dream together is more often a reality." And I think that epitomizes the Rotary year for us. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, President. Now for the vote of thanks by our President nominee, Jayashree Sridhar. And Jennifer, she will be the fourth president of our club. And when she takes over, it'll be our 94th year of Rotary, of existence. Jayashree?
Good evening, everybody. Let me start by just summing up today's meeting in 2 words. Loved it. That's the only way I can say. I think, Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us, for addressing us. And I think every single person who has logged in just loved whatever you said. And you have made a very deep and a lasting impact on all of us. I'm quoting you in one of your speeches to some other meeting. Silver linings rise out of the most challenging circumstances. So you are the kind of positive person who has seen the silver lining in the challenging circumstances that we are facing now. But again, like you said, you have addressed us at a time when fear is going away, fear of COVID is reducing, and you represent hope. We will keep in mind your roadmap and work towards it in the true spirit of Rotary. I thank every single Rotarian from across the world who has joined us in our meeting today. All the Rotractors, the Interactors, Rotarian spouses, thank you so much. And members of the press, thank you very much for being part of this meeting. The way we have come together across continents reminds me of a poem by Rabindranath Tagore. I will sign off by saying the last 2 words of his poem. Where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Thank you very much for all of you for joining us here. Thank you for the wonderful evening and the wonderful meeting. Namaste.
Thank you, Jayashree. And Jennifer, Jayashree will be your president when you take over as president of Rotary International. Your president of our club.
Such a wonderful coincidence that is. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Look forward. Yes. Yes.
And now, Rotarians and friends, we're going to have the 2 national anthems playing now. Canada first and India next. I would request you all to decide for yourselves whether you're going to stand or otherwise place your right arm across your chest. The Canadian national anthem, please.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The Indian national anthem, please.
Sandhya? Okay.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे गावे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण
मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता
जय हे
जय हे
जय हे जय
Thank you so much. For those of you standing, you may be seated now. I now pass the proceedings back to the President for closing the meeting.
Thank you so much to all of you who have been present here. Jennifer, thank you again and look forward to seeing you in Chennai soon. The 27th meeting of the Rotary Club of Madras is now adjourned. Good night, everyone, or rather, good morning again.
Thank you. Can we have everyone unmuted, please, for a while? Jennifer, thank you so much. If you're still there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you.
was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It's a good meeting.
All the Rotarians from around the world.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Bye-bye.
Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Eve.
Wonderful to be here.
Great meeting.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kapilji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gopi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SSV speaking. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Excellent meeting.
Thank you. All right.
Excellent meeting. Good job, Sachin.
Thank you.
Good job.
Congrats, couple.
Thank you, George. Thank you.
Hey, Margaret, I didn't notice you earlier.
Sachin.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Hi, Margaret.
Hello. Gopi, I said you can sleep easy now.
Oh, I can. Yeah, of course. I always sleep easy, Margaret. I always sleep easy.
What a beautiful Rotary anthem. Seriously.
Thank you very
What
much.
a beautiful Rotary anthem.
The people who produce that are on the call, and so they will take your recommendations.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you, Jennifer and
Bye-bye,
Gopi.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Hey, Doug. Are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Doug.
Good morning.
Good morning, Doug. How are you doing?
Vanakkam. Very good.
Vanakkam. And
Vanakkam,
how are things in California?
Well, where COVID is terrible, but otherwise things are wonderful. Nande.
So, and you've thrown out the mad guy, and you're ready to welcome the other guy.
Oh, amen. Amen.
Hi, Peter.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Peter. Nice having you here, Peter.
Hi, Peter. Good to see you.
Fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Shall we sign off?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Thank you,
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
To all of you. Thank you.